listening to the Hearse Chaser Podcast Show. Here's your host, Steven McClelland.
All right, welcome to the Hearse Chaser Podcast Show. I'm attorney Steven McClelland, and welcome to our first podcast show. Our motto is to run now and rest later. And if you're anything like me, life is busy, you got a million things going on, and it's difficult to get your affairs in gear. And here we're going to talk about a number of things to help people plan for the future. I have a lot of great topics coming up. Got some guest speakers that are going to be joining us on the show. But first, since this is the first episode, I'll tell you a little bit about myself and why I decided to put a podcast together. First, it seems like everybody's doing it, so I thought I'd just join the crowd. Second, I've seen podcasts that are a little bit of everything. I've seen weightlifters. It seems like anybody that wants a podcast. I can tell you this is the one that affects everybody. Nobody can run from this podcast. The things that we talk about are for everybody. Doesn't matter if you work out, you don't work out, left, right, center, doesn't matter. These topics are for everyone. And so we hope that this can be a resource. Most of the topics that I will bring up are things I've seen over 10 years of practicing estate planning, probate, and elder law here in the state of Arkansas. Now, one of the things I know to be true is that a lot of people, when they initially reach out, they have a whole lot of questions. And one of the things that we want to do is to help folks that through similar situations that we see on and on again. So before I dive into one way that we plan to help folks, I want to tell you the story behind the term Hearse Chaser. So this is actually my wife's doing. She is a medical provider, a PA, and very familiar. Medical folks are very familiar with ambulance chasers, the term of lawyers looking for injury cases, medical malpractice, that sort of thing. So early on in our marriage, I don't even know if we had any kids yet. We were sitting around the dinner table, and I was talking about life, work, and as you know, most of the things I talk about are related to people dying and passing away, and this scenario, that scenario, and she just said, "Well, you're kind of like a hearse chaser." And I was like, "That's kind of funny," and I guess I took it funny. It's true. I talk about passing away probably more than most, just because it's always on my mind every day in my practice. And so what I ended up doing was calling a buddy of mine and say, "Hey, can we trademark this?" So we went through the process of trademarking the term Hearse Chaser, which was a longer process than I realized. And so, but I thought it was pretty good, a good name. So I want to tell you one of the things, before we started podcast one, we had a vision which took over 100 hours of work. And that is the website and the Hearse Chaser Academy. And the Hearse Chaser Academy is the thing I'm the most proud of. It's a series of 8 different courses that we've put together. Each of them are over 2 hours, typically over 2 hours long for each course. So I'm going to play a little advertisement for that, and then I'll tell you a little bit more.
Thank you for tuning in to the Hearse Chaser Podcast Show. Our mission is to be your first choice for last wishes. Want to dive deeper? Join us over at the Hearse Chaser Academy, where we've created 8 on-demand courses for each stage of life. From young adulthood to retirement, navigating separation or blended families, and everything in between, we help you plan for the future, no matter where you're at. Now stay with us as the ride continues on the Hearse Chaser Podcast Show.
All right, so you had a little bit of an introduction to the Academy, and the 8 different stages are the most common stages that we see in our practice. And while most of our clients are not the young adults, I felt like that was still a very important course because we're having a lot of young adults, young professionals not getting married until their late 20s or 30s. So there's a big gap of time. I thought they need to know some of those things. But the ones I'm most proud of are the course on recently separated and blended families. I think sometimes those get overlooked. Those are there's way more emotions, way more complexity, I think, in those two areas. But for most people, I think they want to watch the retirement years, the loss of a spouse, and final administration. Final administration is when mom and dad both die, and likely it's a child that is watching that course, or perhaps if a child dies, it'd be a parent watching that course. So this covers most of the areas. The number 7 is the long-term care. So as an elder law attorney, we get a lot of questions about, well, how do you protect assets from the nursing home? So we threw one of those in there as well. So each podcast, we're going to promote that, and we're going to update that as we go. Each one of them has a bonus. One of the bonus materials is a how to find a hearse chaser in your area. So there's a high probability that maybe other folks in other states and regions watch it, and I often get asked when a client moves from Arkansas to another state, or someone asks if I know an attorney in another area, and I do. I go to a number of conferences. I'm in a number of organizations with other estate planning attorneys. I know a number of them. But when I don't, I feel like I'm probably better suited to find an attorney for someone than most folks are. So the things that I look for, the databases that I look into, I think are the best way to go about that. So that in and of itself is probably worth the price of any of the courses. And so we have that in each of them. And probably my favorite locator is the divorce locator in the recently separated. And I'm very passionate about that. I don't do family law. I used to do family law, but I really put a lot of information in there about things you should know before hiring a divorce attorney. And a lot of times divorce attorneys don't do estate planning, so you kind of need both, but I know the most urgent thing in most cases is the divorce lawyer. So the Academy is my way to help folks no matter what stage they're in. And it's very likely that people would watch more than one episode over the course of their life. And I think we'll edit those over the years as we update it, get some feedback. But that's essentially my goal, is to provide content, provide education for folks. And if you're watching this right now, we'll actually give you a discount code that can be used for that course. That's going to be Chaser 25. So if you sign up and use Chaser 25, that will give you $25 off our course. And so that's just a little bonus for watching our first episode. The goal is to be a resource for folks. And there are so many things that I want to tell folks, and most meetings are an hour long. It's just not enough time to tell them all the things they need to know. So that's what drove us to do the Hearse Chaser Academy, and that's what this podcast is about, to help folks as we bring in folks to interview them and talk about things that they've gone through, so we can share and let you know that you're not alone. I know a lot of people come in and they feel like they're alone, but there are so many people who have gone through life and death, and we've seen it so many times. We have a really good holistic approach to not only worrying about the assets and the documents, but also the emotional concerns for folks as well, because that is probably one of the most important things, is just having the right mindset when it comes to hiring an attorney and going through those stages. And so we really pay attention to not just documents, but also how to go through those processes. So I hope you enjoy this podcast, and glad you're here. And until the final ride, we'll keep seeing you here on the Hearse Chaser Podcast Show.
Hey, thanks for listening to the Hearse Chaser Podcast show. Please remember, you can't outrun a hearse, but you can leave your family with a smooth ride.